Otto Preminger is one of that breed in the theater known as an actor's director. Not only has he set young people and unknown actors on the road to stardom, he's provided the vehicles in which a number of established stars have ridden to Academy Award nominations. It's a remarkable record for a man that started out in Vienna more than 60 years ago to become a lawyer, but was drawn ineluctably to the stage as an actor, a director, and a producer. 8 years in Europe, 5 in New York, then on to the challenge of Hollywood and the new medium of motion pictures. 30 years and 30 pictures later, Otto Preminger continues to set new standards and stir new controversies. Mr. Preminger, why do you make films? Is there a real purpose other than making money, or is each film a purpose in itself?
Well, you see, the question of making money has nothing to do with it. In our society, money is what we measure success by. You know, if my pictures didn't make money, then I couldn't make more pictures. So they have to make money, whatever else. Yes, but you don't think of money when you, I mean, at least I don't think. I often think about it, that I am a very lucky man to have found a profession which I love. I love to work. I love to start in the morning, whether I'm shooting a film or rehearsing a play or casting a play or looking for vehicles or traveling with a film or talking here to you. It's a wonderful thing that I don't have to be, and they could pay me any money they wanted to and I would not switch.
But it's more than a love of work.
I don't have to be in the morning at a desk every day from 9:30 or 10 o'clock until 5 in the afternoon and do the same thing. Mainly not doing the same thing. I mean, that you can use your own imagination, your own choice what to do, that you are not hemmed in. That's wonderful.
Sort of the...
It is not money, it is the thing. And maybe other people wouldn't like it, but I love it.
It's the use of your own talents and the exercise of your own talents, the God-given talents that you have. And the choice. And the freedom, I suppose.
It is freedom.
What drew you to the theater?
When I was very, very young, you know, in Vienna, where I was born, I always wanted to be an actor from this age of 9. And then when I was 17, I became an actor.
Did you go to the theater a good
yes,
many times when you were very young?
At least 4 times a week from the age of 10, 11.
What kind of theater was it in Vienna?
Well, there was very, very good theater. You know, it was, there's a state theater, there was another private theater, and a second private theater. And then there was this theater that Max Reinhardt founded in took over and renovated in 1924. And this is where I acted for the first time. My first part was, he opened the theater with a Goldoni play, a Commedia dell'arte, and instead, see, there was no curtain, and young actors changed the scenery. And I used to dance with dancing. I used to dance out to music by Mozart and carry a chair out, a table, a glass.
How old were you then?
Not quite 17.
And you were studying law at the time?
No.
You weren't?
Then after I got this job, my father was a lawyer. My father didn't take this very seriously. He suggested that I should do something. He said, you do whatever you like. You want to be an actor, fine. But do something formal, finish some formal studies. And because he was a lawyer and we were very close, I studied law. I never practiced law.
Was this painful for you to have to study something where you didn't intend to practice?
It was very good for me.
Good for you in what sense?
Discipline, because you learn, you know, to sit still for a few hours. And I did it only in between engagements. I went to various theaters as an actor. And when I came home for vacation, my father had a tutor for me and I studied. And I had already my own theater in Vienna when I became doctor of law, but I never practiced.
Your own theater, and that was what, when you were 22, I suppose?
No, I was a little younger, about 21, not quite.
How does one get his own theater, Mr. Preminger?
I started it.
And it's a commercial theater, obviously. It had to make money to survive.
There was another theater, and then eventually I took over the theater from Max Reinhardt that I told you about. If you talk to me too much about it, it's bad because I'm writing my autobiography, and then the Doubleday will be very mad at me.
I see. Well, maybe this will help sell the autobiography.
If I tell you all this.
Was the Vienna of your childhood a different kind of place insofar as theater is concerned? You speak as though there's a great deal of theater available, and if one can start one's own theater, it certainly must be so.
Well, there were not so many theaters, but I started the theater because I had a partner who had money. He was also an actor and director. He was older than I, and he had a very rich wife, and they financed this theater. Very simple.
Why would you want your own theater when you were doing so well acting? Simply to have
I was
complete
not doing
control?
so well. I just
You weren't doing so well, I
the
see.
part that I described doesn't seem so great. I wanted to play big, but besides, I gave up. When I was 19, I gave up acting, and I started to direct.
Why?
Because I was more interested in directing.
Max Reinhardt is something of a legend. What kind of a man was he?
He was a very interesting man. He was a great director. He was somewhat shy. But when he felt that an actor really wanted to be directed by him, he was amazing. His imagination and the way he could get variations of scenes and characterizations for actors. It's the only school I ever attended, is watching him direct. His 100th birthday, as a matter of fact, will be in September.
Is that right?
They are having in Binghamton, they have a festival, Reinhardt Festival.
If you were
one of these days is his 100th birthday. I can't go.
If you were to choose one man who had the greatest influence, would it be Max Reinhardt then, because of his early influence?
Probably, yeah. You don't know. You're influenced by everything that happens in life.
Of course, and constantly influenced, I suspect. What led you from Europe to America then?
A man came to Vienna who heard about me. I was, by that time, I had succeeded Reinhardt. I ran his theater. I was 28. And his name was Joseph M. Skenk. And he had just merged 20th Century and Fox and offered me a contract.
In
20th Century Fox.
With the motion pictures in Hollywood then?
Yeah.
But you came to New York, didn't you, first?
I came to Hollywood, but I stopped in New York and I directed a play here on the way for one of my friends from Europe, who I knew in Europe, Gilbert Miller.
When was that? 1935.
35. It opened on the 20th of December 1935. How is this for accuracy?
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
It must have been an experience that can be recalled rather vividly. I suspect coming to this country and opening a stage play in this country.
The whole idea of coming to this country was a tremendous adventure. You see, Americans travel, but Europeans rarely come to America, now more than before. But at that time, to go to America was in itself an adventure. The ship and the ocean. And I came on a new ship, the Normandy, the fastest ship. It was just fascinating. I never forget it.
The reality was fully as exciting as the anticipation of it?
Right.
Then when did you go from New York to Hollywood?
On the 2nd of January. You're a very tough taskmaster. 2nd of January 1936, Professor.
The 2nd of January. You know it to the very exact day. Why is that? Was it?
There are very few dates that I remember, but I remember the day I arrived in this country. I remember the days when my children were born, and I remember when I arrived in Hollywood, and my own birthday.
And what happened when you arrived in Hollywood then?
Oh, don't ask me. You want to. Let's talk about something intelligent, not about my life. Well, I met Daryl Zanuck, and we got along, and we had fights. I left Hollywood again. I came to New York. I did plays. I went back to Hollywood again. Eventually, I had a very big hit with one film. And in show business, that's all that counts. And it's one hit.
And that big hit
was Laura.
Laura.
A film called Laura.
Now, the films that you have done since then, a number of them, of course, have been at least classified as controversial. Controversies have surrounded some of these films. The Moon is Blue, for example, was a controversial film because of pushing new grounds with respect to taste.
But it was played on television without cuts, so the controversy is over.
You think that that change will constantly bring about a situation where films made today will be seen on television tomorrow, so to speak?
Sure, certainly.
Why did what prompted you to to push ahead with films like The Moon is Blue and other films?
But it is not like this. I mean, these things happen. I directed and produced a play called The Moon is Blue. The play ran 3 years in New York. It was a tremendous hit, 18 months in Chicago. When I put it on film, suddenly people started to object. The Catholic Church said I should use the word virgin. Our own censorship administration in Hollywood didn't give me the seal of approval. So I did it without seal of approval. It didn't hurt the film.
Didn't make any difference then. What about the lawsuit with Columbia over the cutting of one of your movies for showing on television?
It was Anatomy of a Murder. It was not that they cut it, they couldn't cut it. I had a contract where they couldn't cut my films, but they permitted, they sold it to television and did not forbid them to cut it. So they sold it to 105 television stations. Each station had their own version. That's why I sued.
And as a result of that suit, what happened?
Now all my films, they're afraid now. My films
you didn't win the lawsuit, so to speak.
No,
but
I did not win the lawsuit. But the judge said that minor cuts can be made according to television usage. But as nobody knows what a minor cut is, they don't cut at all, because they're afraid if they do cut more than minor, that I could sue them again, and they don't want to take the risk.
And do you feel that any cut is a major cut, that a film really ought to go on television precisely?
Let me tell you, I am not pretentious, and I don't think that my films are such masterpieces that we're sacrilegious to cut them. No. But I make a film. The film is shown in theaters under a certain title, and the audience is now turning on the television set, and they are entitled, in my opinion, to see the same film on television. It's like when you buy, I don't know, you buy a watch, whatever the watch is. When somebody buys it from you, is entitled to get the same watch. You don't erase the firm's name and make changes. It is like a trademark. The film is finished and you have the right to see it away like a book. How would you like to buy a book and then suddenly have 10 pages cut out? It's wrong. But in our free society, this is what we are standing for. It is, as you can see from many things that happened in the last few months, we have to really defend our freedoms in every area. You see, when you suddenly, who would have thought that somebody could come in while you are sitting here and go to your home and go through your files with the permission of various government agencies? Would you have thought that? Apparently it is possible, so we must fight it.
It's this gradual change that takes place, and we accept each small change, and we find ourselves in serious difficulty.
Suddenly we have no freedom. This is what happened in Germany. This is very dangerous. We must, that is important. Each of us in our own area must defend his own freedom.
In the same way, when you make a film for the theater, I presume you build a certain mood, it has a certain cohesion, which oftentimes is destroyed, as you know, on television by the interruptions. I suppose you'd
naturally, like every filmmaker, I'm very much against the interruptions through commercials. In England, for instance, where there's also a commercial television station, they play the ads in the beginning and at the end. In France, too. And there's some shows here where they do it. But because it is a question of money again, you accused me in the beginning that I love money. If you sell it to a television station, if the film is sold, the advertiser in our system pays for it, and the advertiser wants to see his ads. So they do it, and I hope eventually it'll cease. They will learn that they don't sell like this, that they only make the public mad, that it is better for them to say in the beginning, so-and-so proudly presents and have their ad in the beginning.
Yes.
But they have not learned it yet.
How would you put films on television, or would you put them there at all?
Sure, I think it's very good. Why not? No, I think films have a much longer life now because of television. And there'll be even more now with all these films, the cassettes, the films that they show in hotels. The films live longer.
But you would preserve the integrity of the artist and not invert the values where the money-making becomes more important.
Big words like integrity of the artist. It is something that is sold, and the buyer should have the right to get it in the same form, good or bad, as it was originally created.
Yes.
And it is very simple, you know. It will eventually. It just has to be agreed upon. It will come to it. The public will object to the interruptions.
You've made a number of films from books, and at least in one instance, in The Exodus, the author has criticized you for changing his book. Obviously, the same rules don't apply in your...
No, because, look, when an author sells the rights to have a film made of his book, the word sell and buy implies that now I, the buyer, am the owner, and he has no rights on the book anymore. I don't have any, unless he puts it in the contract, he can do it. I have no obligation to be what you call faithful to the book. The book, the story, is now filtered to my brain. I do and emphasize the things that I like. That's why I bought it. I don't like 3,000 pages of a book. I like only certain things in the theme, certain characters more than others.
So you've created, from your point of view, created a new work.
And if it's a success, then I am right. If it's a failure, then I have the failure. And if the author of Exodus, the reason really was a personal reason, he was supposed to write the screenplay. I didn't like the screenplay that he wrote. He's a very good writer, but he cannot write scenes. He cannot write dialogue, drama. And so I had to have somebody else write the screenplay. That made him mad. But I mean, I don't really care. I mean, I'm not mad at him. I had a tremendous success, which is after all based on his book. That he didn't like it is only one in millions of people. What does it matter?
Mr. Preminger, you're one of several who have fought censorship in filmmaking. Where does censorship leave off, and where is the balance between complete freedom, complete license, let me put it that way?
But that is very simple. That doesn't have to be achieved by censorship. We have laws. We have laws against obscenity. You know. If you now would take off your clothes here, you know, and forget that we are being filmed, you know, you would be arrested. You know, people would come and either put you into a hospital or into prison, right?
Right.
The same thing if you, without any reason, you know, commit an obscene act that has no, what they call in law, social redeeming value on the screen, then the picture will be confiscated, you will go to prison. It's very simple. Censorship should really be called pre-censorship. It is when people, be it a government agency or private agencies or vigilantes, you know, tell you in advance before you do it, you're permitted to do this and you're not permitted to do that.
Prior restraint, and prior restraint, yes. So you obviously would not favor the complete license that, or virtually the complete license that now seems to exist.
There's no favor. Yeah. It's a law. The law exists, and the police and the courts have to do their duty.
How do you feel about violence in films? A good many films nowadays, of course, are violent.
You see, it is very difficult to fight it. I personally hate violence. For instance, I have children who are very young. They're 12 years old, going on 13 now. Now, they have always been permitted, you know, when I show pictures, sometimes I show it in my house, to see anything they want. So they can ask me questions about sex. I don't think there's any harm, particularly if you don't make a big secret about it. I know my little son came home one day, and my daughter, they're twins, they were 9 years old. And my son said in school they are reading secretly, they are reading Playboy. I said, you don't have to read it secretly. And I happen to have two issues of Playboy. I gave one to the girl and one to the boy. They went through it. And all he said to the centerpiece, he said, Vicky, give me yours, I don't like blondes. And gave her Yeah, and they exchanged the play. They forgot it. There was no big thing about it. Now, violence is different. See, I think that if violence, very hard, bloody violence, is committed and put into the minds of children, of young people, there is also the danger that because it is glorified, that they would be tempted to imitate it, to do the same thing. There is I don't know how it could be forbidden, because I'm against censorship, but I think the parents should look out for it. And this is where I would like to protect young people. It's like alcohol. There's nothing wrong about alcohol, but we want to protect young people from it. I think the same thing is true with violence. You wouldn't be particularly impressed with violence. You would leave. You'd be bored. But
yes,
a child could be hurt by seeing too much violence.
What kind of films do your twins see? I suppose they see a great many in your home, wouldn't they?
I must confess that yes, he likes films. She is an absolute television freak.
Really?
When there were these, what was it called, Watergate things, on television. She cried. She called me in my office and says, "Daddy, it's a tragedy. I come home from school and there's not one of my soap operas there. They are all cancelled for Watergate."
What's the attraction of soap operas, do you know?
Well, she loves it.
I see.
You see, I first was against it, but you can't stop children from seeing television. And then I found it has one very good thing. Children today, much earlier than ever before, acquire a very big vocabulary. They somehow know about the world more because it is easy. It's all visual.
Yes.
You see, it is easier than reading books. Of course, they don't want to read it all. They say it is dull. But I think it has a value, and I also hope that as they are getting older, he already is not interested, and they're the same age, that they will give up the soap operas.
Do you do a great deal of reading yourself?
I have to. It's part of it. And I also like it.
Of course, it is. And are you, as you read, are you constantly looking for the possibilities of a stage performance? What most attracts you? This is a stupid question, but there must be some standards that you have. Characters?
People, yeah, much more than plots.
Are there things, plots, characters, plays, books, that has been the one you've always wanted to do and haven't done yet?
Yeah, but there are things that I started to do. For instance, I wanted to do a picture on Gandhi. I was in India. I worked very hard on it. And then it didn't materialize. I was not happy with the whole concept. And I also felt, after knowing more about India, that it is really a thing that they should do themselves. Their reactions are different than ours. I mean, to have they're going to make one now, but a Western actor is not right to play Gandhi. See, there is such different human values there. They're wonderful. I enjoyed being there, but I learned there was wonderful. I met Nehru, is one of the most impressive people I ever met in my life. He and Roosevelt. I suppose for reasons that may be fairly obvious to anyone, both Nehru and Roosevelt, or were they so obvious to you? Right.
The reasons that these two men stand out so vividly in your mind. The qualities.
Yeah, they have a human quality. It's much more than the political thing. They seem to have a personality which you can't forget, that a warmth, a humanity, and freedom about them, which was wonderful.
Mr. Preminger, you collect art, modern art, do you not? I'm told you do.
Yeah, I don't collect. I have some paintings which I like. I live with them. I'm not really a collector. Only when in my house.
But you have chosen artists of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Picasso and Clay, Miro,
all time.
Braque.
How do you know all this?
Well, we always try to find out what we can before we meet the guests. It is dangerous.
Did you break in?
No, I haven't yet. But I am curious to know why modern art. Just a matter of taste, I suppose.
Well, when I was young in Vienna, I used to sit for days and days in museums and see old art. And then eventually, when I grew up, I felt I just don't know. I like contemporary art better. it speaks to me more. It's an emotional thing. You can't tell why.
Is being modern, being interested in contemporary things a part of staying everlastingly youthful as well?
No.
That doesn't concern
I'm not
you?
worried about age. Look, what is, you must admit that every age has, if you really use it right, if you live through it, has its great, wonderful things and also its difficulties. Now, I've been young. Now I enjoy being older.
What are the benefits of being older?
I don't know. I mean, I enjoy every day getting older just as much as I enjoyed it 20 years ago.
Part of getting older is a kind of freedom, is it not? Your youth is behind
Maybe
you.
that is true too. Not exactly, but it is in a way true.
And maybe doing, as you said at the outset, going to work every day and doing the things that
you like. That is the main.
That you like to do. Do you have, among all of your pictures, any that you are particularly proud of for any reason? It's unfair to single one out because you shall always be known by all of your pictures, not
I
one.
don't think in these terms. I make a film, I concentrate while I'm making it. When it is over, I deliberately, after I've seen the film twice or three times with an audience, I detach myself.
Why?
And because I want to work on a new thing. Otherwise, I would always think of the old one.
And redoing it, I suppose.
Right.
Mr. Preminger, it's been a delight to have you here. We appreciate
Thank you. It is my pleasure.
having the chance to talk with you.
It's nice
And
to
I
see another man who has a similar hairdo that I have, although you could use an electric razor here. It's a little shorter.
Well, I hope if I do, it'll bring me the same kind of success and that you've enjoyed in your career.
I thank you very much. It was very charming to be here.